12 a.m. is like when I have crackhead energy. Can't really like focus. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Hi everyone. Welcome to the Vanpla cast. Today we have a very special guest, Eday. I guess say hi, Eday.
Okay. All right. Hi, guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello.
As we're talking, a lot of people are pouring in. So, all right, let's get this started. So, I guess I think before we start the questions, I gotta say, Eday, I think before I started, or like while I was in Vanpla and I was doing modeling, I remember the first craziest shit I've seen was your build. It was the
All right.
Rizel.
When was that?
2012, right?
Oh, 2012. Okay.
Your GBWC 2012.
Project GWEN.
Yeah. I don't think I thought at the time I'd ever meet that guy, but I guess 8 years later, here I am. So it's kind of crazy to see that, but yeah.
It's a small world,
All right, I know, right? It's like a very limited space, but yeah. Okay, enough of me gushing. That was me gushing. So
if you wish for it, it will come true.
Yeah. Gotta find more shooting stars in my time.
And I might say that Hal never like sings praise about anyone like that. So like,
I don't do it because I don't know. I mean, yeah.
Well, can I confess too?
Yeah.
Can I confess to
Sure.
Eday?
Yeah. Yeah, please.
Well, I know Eday. I think it's towards the last couple of years of Gundam Workshop, the old Gundam Workshop, and then I moved back to Hong Kong, and then I start the Model Plus magazine, and then we hook up again. And then Eday was kind enough to bring his stuff for us to cover and then do articles for us, and then I gotta say that Eday actually opened my eyes as well. Of course, I have another mentor called Calvin Sao, which is always my mentor. He's still a very influential people. He worked for 3.0 now, and but Eday stuff actually opened my eyes, and then especially I learned the actual use of pistons. That's Eday's specialty. Pistons.
Yeah, pistons.
Yeah.
Got a lot of. You have a lot of interesting like wire works for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know that the Project GWEN, right? The result, it can separate into separate pieces and stand alone.
Yeah.
It is a thing to be held.
It's like a giant bike, except it's yeah. Please, Eday, go on. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
I mean, like there's a lot of story behind on that project. You know, actually, was like that took me about 2 years to get the final product. So things like it's not like I totally spent 2 years just to build that, but I think it's about like how the idea evolved by doing the trial and error. So actually, the original is actually not the things that you saw today. So actually, the original ideas I started from building the Jupiter Ghost. It's from I kind of forgot like from what kind of series of Gundam. Have you guys heard about Jupiter Ghost? It's a rig dome with the kind of like a heavy.
Yeah, it's a Kobayashi.
Weapon.
It's a Kobayashi.
Yeah, Kobayashi stuff. Yeah. So actually start from there. So I just like building. I have the basic looks and the model kits. I mean, like a scratch build some part of it here and there. And after that, I feel like that can be. What if we can infuse some sort of like kind of design into this kind of like directions? Then I changed it to use the Hyakusuki. Okay, so we using the same concept. So I convert that Jupiter Ghost to Hyakusuki. And after that, well, getting interesting. What about if we put it into Sinanju, right? So I turn it into Sinanju, and then the last one, everything else I convert back to the Rizel, the stuff that you saw today. So the 2 years actually, I can say like if we talk about the building itself, I'll probably say it's about maybe 6 to 8 months, right?
Right.
But, apart from that, it's like I think it's about the idea explorations, the trial and stuff like that. Because I think this is like my first time to build those kind of like motor kits in such way and directions. Yeah.
Yeah, like I remember Eday. Most of Eday stuff is like a standalone Gundam with very exaggerated proportion that we like,
Yeah.
and lots of
Yeah.
like mechanical parts as
Mm.
well. But can I ask about the name? I have some suspicious. It's about
Yeah.
a female.
Mhm.
You know, one thing that we can get away from, like keep building Gunpla from our
Mm.
other half, is that we dedicated that thing to her, right?
You mean okay? Alright. Okay.
I mean your wife.
Oh, actually,
Am I?
the Gwen is my daughter, it's not my wife.
Daughter Gwen, right?
Oh,
Gwen.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second, the younger one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I get it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So no,
Yeah.
I think the dedication is like some things, sometimes like you build something, you just need some motivations to get the things done, Sometimes, just you build something out of fun. I think it's cool, but once you bring like, okay, I'm going to dedicate this to somebody special, and then you have those kind of like courage to get the things done,
Mm.
right? I mean, like I believe that a lot of models actually have a lot of like abundant work behind or under
Right.
table that we don't finish that. So I think like it's
Mhm.
not about like some people we do like building the finish the model in the sake of like they need to join the competitions. But for me it's not. But for me it's like because since that time, actually my first build previously, I mean before Gwen, I built the Project Live. So actually this is for my son. Okay.
Mm.
And actually joined I joined the Hong Kong Dagenki champion. I got the champion as well. And after that I got my daughter. It's like, okay, my
Mhm.
son got it now, I got the champion trophy, then I gotta do something for my daughter. So that's how the thing
Yeah.
happened. That's
Oh,
how the names coming
interesting.
in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think motivations, dedications is just something like a push yourself to get the things done, because sometimes like, if you don't set any kind of timeline, deadline or purpose, it kind of like dragging too long, Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you lose
Makes
you
sense.
kind of lose the energy, like
Mhm.
from time to time, like you kind of like well, what am I doing? Sitting inside this
Yeah,
room, like you keep like
it kind of
sending this stuff, like
it's kind of feel like burnout and like losing directions and of course like especially nowadays there's a lot of distractions, right? I mean like you for example like you're building some model kits and then you sort of like have your directions and then the next day you saw something cool and then you get a lot of inspiration and then you tend to change the direction again and then you go here
yes.
from here to there. It kind of like a continuous like like a everlasting kind of like inspirations that sometimes might be lead us to to the place that we can finish like the model kit itself, and after that we just put it there and then we move to the model kits. I think I've been through that before, so yeah.
And then you should show the beast thing to Eday.
Yeah, I should. We can put it up
Sure.
in the put it up in post, but
Mhm.
I will direct message you, Eday.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dan was doing a humongous like bashing and
Mhm.
scratching and all mixed media type of thing for how many years now?
Oh, it's only been 1 year. 1 year so far. But
Yeah.
I'm sending it to you, Eday, right now.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
It's still evolving. He still didn't prime it, so
I
we can see.
I
Yeah.
Like,
still didn't prime it.
Yeah,
Gotta rag on
yeah,
him for that.
yeah.
but it's a good thing that Dan didn't prime it yet, because we can see like different parts from different kits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's really crazy. It's about like
Yeah.
16 inches tall.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'd say closer to a foot. Actually, let me. It's
Yeah.
kind of sitting in a
It's
box
big.
right now, but it's big. it's master grade size, and the little dude I
Okay.
have
That's
for a
nice.
diorama
Yeah.
with him is high grade size. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this kind of build in a sense, like, I believe that, you actually like doing a lot of experimental in terms of design and how to put the things together instead of like, just build and doing some basic modifications, right? So,
Yeah.
so like, how, so my question is like, I have a question for you, like, how many, like, the idea, I mean, the original idea evolved from where you are right now? I mean, like, did you consistently keeping
Ooh.
the same design, or did you change a lot in between, like,
Mm.
into where you are today?
Well, I mean, so the general shape of it,
Mm-hmm.
the silhouette,
Mm-hmm.
it's based off of enemy from a video game that I really
Uh-huh.
enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
So the gun on one arm, the open hand on the other, and the horns, that was all going to be there. But as I kept kit bashing and
Mm-hmm.
digging through my parts bin, and I would put new
Mm-hmm.
parts on, take old parts off, see what worked.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest
Mm-hmm.
roadblock with this guy lately was the stability of the legs, but I just
Mm-hmm.
decided to say, screw this. I'm gonna super glue everything, and now it's a lot more stable. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a
Okay.
and I predict that it will still continue to evolve because there's a lot of
Yeah.
things to change.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's not. I mean, for myself, like I call it like, just like you're designing something, like trying to create something new. So that's how the process is going to take you, right? So,
Yeah.
so I always try to tell my, some people that come and ask me like, how to, you know, we tend to easily like being, distract from, other people's view or kind of like things that we saw. And some people might that, they kind of like, uh, just for the sake of like they liking or something, and then just for very impulsive, they would just build it, and then at the end of uh, the day, they will feel like, okay, maybe I'm not that good. I'm feeling depressed, and I kind of like trying to put down all the things that I've built. So my suggestion is like, always like, keep on building on your pace. So so for the stuff that you did here, I call it like not a kit bash. For me, it's like just trying to design something different. I mean, like trying to create some origins of that kind of experiential things. So, yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
Sweet. Well, I'm honored to have this
yeah. Because
criticism from you, and
yeah, I don't know how is the culture. So because like I tend to like exposed to a lot of this modeling community culture in Asia. So uh, I saw a lot of like people when the building kids is about everybody is talking about the technical skills. You know what I'm saying? It's talk about like okay, because I can scratch build a lot of things. I can make a very clean and neat line and stuff like that. I think to me it's like it's great. It's great because this is what we call like the fundamental of the skill, but it's still a technical skill, right? But I think the next step is about like how you actually start to infuse the creativity, the idea, the design that coming that through together to the stuff that you build. Because I think I ever been to a workshop, I think 2 to 3 years ago. So actually, I kind of like we talk about the 3D printer at that time. So we talk about like I told them like can we think that maybe in the next coming 10 years, right? The way we buy a model kit, it's just like you buying a game on the PlayStations. You don't buy the CD anymore. You just download it and print it at home,
Oh, interesting.
right? Right. So
Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of like so the thing is like in the future, I mean like in the future, people will just like you can get anything, all those kind of resources from online and just print it. But the things that can be replaced is the creativity and the design. So this is how I see my enjoyment in terms of building a model kit itself, right? So like I've been through some like competitions as judge before, but I really like paying a lot of attentions on the like a new creations or the origin of idea design. Well, I do look at the technicals, but for me like it can be fixed, but creativity is something that special, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Spatial.
so that's how the things like because like the community always talk about like how we can make the building communities better and stuff like. I think there'll be a lot of way like are we looking for the fundamental, the basic skill? Are we talk about technical skill? Or we talk about like something beyond that, which is the next level about creativity, design, and the original works, right? So there will be like so when you start to build that, like so you can choose like okay, what sort of like directions that I want to go for. Am I going to showcase my technical skill, or I'm going to showcase both of them, technical skill and creativity, right? So yeah. But yeah, I think for some guys that they always concerned about the technical skill. The funny thing is that we have like in a internet world we have like those kind of like a Nazi grammar, right? And then we have like a terms what we call like a Nazi panel line or scene line. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty common, but it's just like as I said before, like technical skill is don't worry about it. It can be solved in any kind of way because the tools that we're going to have is getting advanced. Okay, let me give you another very simple example because actually coming from a design background as well, so I always tend to tell people like 10 years ago, right? If we want to retouch your photo, so you want to go for designer, right? Because they know how to use Photoshop. So that's why you ask them you can't do it because you need their skill to help you to retouch the photo, right? So today, my mom can retouch the photo by herself because there's apps that make the things simple, right?
Right.
Simplify the whole thing. So everybody can get it now, by few clicks. But the thing is, like the output will be the same. You see what I'm saying? Because the apps is actually only providing the solutions. It's not providing the creativity. So that's why when my mom retouch a photo using the same apps with my auntie, they can come up with a good result, but it's all the same.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's how we're going to justify between the technical skills and the creativity. Right? So what you have shown me on your build here, I think like you kind of like exploring the creativity, design, and stuff like that. And then like you actually tend to shift away from the technical. It's like I'll just super glue everything, right? So the intention is about like what is the final product that you want to show to the audience, right? So that's why I'm saying like just the pace that you want to go for, no pressure. Yeah, just go ahead with different things that you want to do. Yeah, actually I have a few friends that start to building a model kits, but everything was in the 3D software. They just print out everything. You see, but again, without creativity, even though you have a 3D printer, like stuff that you're going to print, you know what I'm saying? So that's how I see the things here. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm processing everything you just said. So just
Yeah.
I think you bring up a lot of interesting points. Like I can't imagine a world where Bandai's business model will one day just turn into like DLC buying parts. They provide template and everything. I think that's a very interesting concept.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's going to be happen. I mean, it's going to be
Yeah.
happen. I mean, like seriously, like yeah.
Oh,
I agree with that statement that eventually you'll be able to get stuff 3D printed, and like it's a matter of a when, not if.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think it's definitely like accessibility, right? Like 3D printers right now are just they're like a niche product only for makers or something like that. But maybe one day it'll just become like so affordable or like good quality plus affordability.
Yeah.
Once the market becomes larger or something. I think Joey and I were actually talking about this last
Mhm.
time we were talking, like last podcast, talking about 3D printed parts. But Joey
Yeah.
said like once it becomes like a business, that's when like Bandai or GBWC, that's when they'll, you know,
Mhm.
let
Mhm.
them use 3D printed parts, right? Because right now it's like not, or like they say like
Yeah.
no, right? Bandai only stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I even think, I even like I talked to my friends a couple of days ago. We think about like, okay, in this kind of pandemic, like maybe in the future, if things doesn't get well, let's say we have a competition. Maybe the things that we just send the file, they will print the model out and for display. That's it.
Wow.
Damn, that's
Super cool, right?
yeah, that'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
3D
So,
printing parts.
yeah, but again, it's like I think it's also back again to the heritage and where this enjoyment of doing this hobby is coming on. Like I still do believe that at the end of the day the modern can't live away from the traditional, right? Because I think I believe that somehow somewhere we're still enjoying like building the stuff using our own hands, right?
Yeah.
This kind of process. Yeah. So I think that kind of thing will still stay on those kind of part of process as well. I mean, like just like like when we're doing the design, like my design is like at the end of the day we're just using computer, but the starting you're always using pencil and paper to do some sketches, brainstorming idea. That's how the things still stay the same. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Currently, I see like 3D printing right now as, I mean, I think that's where the debate comes from. The idea that
Mhm. Mhm.
there's
Mhm.
like if you 3D print the pieces, you're no longer in
Mhm.
a way scratch building, and the fact that you can share 3D printed design files
Mhm.
makes it
Mhm.
hard that for people to understand like, did I really scratch build this or did I design this myself? You know what I mean?
So
Right.
again, it's like
Yeah.
yeah, I know where you're coming from, but again, it's like it's about value, right? So let me give you another example. It's about like if I 3D print it, so it means like it's not a scratch build, okay? So it's unconsciously we feel like the value is kind of like downgraded. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not handmade. You just
Yeah.
print it. It's easy.
It's like
Everybody can do
furniture.
it
It's
now.
like furniture.
Yeah,
You know, it's like
but
yeah.
it's like you gotta see in a way of like if you just print it out, then the other value might be go for like okay because the design is special, right? So the value is kind of sit from the technical skill to the design. Or let me give you another example of like if you look at the watches, right? I mean like all the watches factory, but look at Rolex, okay? Because they still preserve the handmade thing. So that's why the value is different, right? Those kind of like branded bags, like handmade, those kind of things, right? So they preserve the origins, the heritage. That's show that that's the value from the product behind that, right? So some people might be okay. We don't care about the process, but we kind of making a cool design. So it's more like what they see on the modern stuff right now, right? Like those kind of hype beast kind of like products and brands, right? They don't talk a lot about like the process. They talk a lot about the design. Who is the pop culture behind? Like what is the trend behind, right? But if you look at the old brands like a Rolex, LV, they talk about the origin, the heritage on how they perceive those kind of like 100 years of legacy and history. On they keep on preserving those kind of way of producing the product, and then we buy that. Actually, when we spend money, like, we buy those kind of concept, right? We buy the legacy, right? We buy the history. Somehow, somewhere, that's how we see the value, right? So I think back again to the questions like the stuff you're saying like whether it's like okay it's no more scratch build and then it's just 3D printed everybody just do it, but I think it's just a matter of like how those kind of like informations and educations on how actually people start to learn about design, right? I mean part of the world today like some people appreciate design, they still like see the thing from the function, spend a lot of money to the designer to design things, right? So those are the things about like information, and then the next thing is about like I mean like if you're part of that community, if we want to build this as a value on the things that we did, it's like it's everything back again to how we actually start to bringing those kind of message and education and informations, like giving like a different kind of perspective on how we perceive the value on the stuff that we are doing, right? Because right now everything I think is just limit to technical skill a lot, like scratch skill, like panel line, like those kind of things. Like, but like how many of us like we really like putting into like a design context, creativity, and stuff like that, right? So yeah.
That's interesting. Huh. Sorry, this is like the first time I had to process what people say. it's quite a bit. Huh. Interesting.
Oh
So
yeah,
I
I can
guess
actually like so that people like kind of
yeah, it feels like it's just like how it's marketed, I guess, right? You were talking about the companies, and how Hypebeast and some of the more like pop culture stuff, they care about trends. But
it's marketing and how actually it's creating a trend, right?
yeah,
So it's and those kind of trends really coming from either from like feel kind of like on the spot people bring a message, and like or either it's coming from a community that's trying to build in those kind of value into that. Yeah, it's time, of course. Yeah.
sorry, I'm like just at a loss. It's just
It's
it's a lot to think about, because I know you have like real experience, right? I remember you did a what was it, Reeboks with Gundam?
Yeah.
You did the shoes, right? So like
No,
you
actually, I'm not the one that really designed.
yeah, but you
kind
were
of
the
like,
ambassador, right? You were the
ambassador
kind of
endorsed the things for stuff.
endorsed it. Yeah. So I see it's interesting how you bring up the way how people define value. But yeah, I think
Mhm.
I mean maybe that's why like people in some communities don't value, or it just depends on which community you're in, right? But
Yeah. Mhm.
some just they don't value 3D printing. They might see it as like a shortcut or a means to
Like
an
the
end.
shortcut.
Yeah, but then there are
Yeah.
some that just they want it to be optimized. It's a new thing, right? It's a new thing that I think what will happen eventually is just that it's
Mhm.
going to be integrated, whether people want it or not.
Mhm.
Probably an inevitability.
Yep.
But yeah. Yeah. We discussed a lot. I think I'm just gonna actually go straight into. I actually had a question, but then I think I'll save that for later. I think I'll
Okay.
start with everyone else's stuff. Um,
Okay.
so first question comes from Plastic Model Therapy. That's his username. So it says, "Do you focus on one project at a time, or do you like do several ones on the go? And if you do that many on the go, like how many do you do, and why do you either go one project or you go several?"
Okay. Yeah. So I think let me count like how many projects I have on my table right now. I think it's more than 10. Okay. So
Oh
the
wow.
reasons like yeah. So the reasons like why because I can't just do one model. Okay. Because my intention every time when I do a model kit is like because I try to infuse a new design. Okay. So it's not like straight out of the box building. So for me, it's like why I need to build like more than one is because I treat it as the canvas for me to explore the idea and the design. So let's say if I build 10 right now, maybe at the end of the day, I just pick one of them and to finish that. And the 9 of them is just like, for the future use, right? So maybe like I have told the story before about my project GWEN. So it's actually, has been going through to the like 3 to 4 different phase of design. So with a different model kit as well. So that's how the things go, yeah. And actually, some part of it actually I have been abounded from my project GWEN. Actually, right now I put it into the project that I did for the which is now displayed in the Odaiba, the Colossus Zeta. Actually, yeah, actually some part of it actually should be part of that project GWEN like 8 years ago, but I just 2 years ago I just put it into like Zeta Colossus. So I think like that would be like the way I'm doing it, because yeah, I can just stick to one of that model kits. I need to explore like a experiment on the design. So this how I feel more enjoying on building stuff. Yeah. Yeah, and the second thing is I don't buy new model kits. I probably just go for the second hand model kits. Right.
Oh, always, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So
Built.
because you just hate to do those kind of snap fit kind of works, Yeah.
No, that's totally understandable.
Yeah. So that's all yeah. I bought a lot of second hand kits. So that's why it's kind of easy for me to put everything together and then dispatch, explore. Yeah.
Yeah. I've noticed that you used or
Mhm.
rather Dan first saw this as well, but I noticed as soon as he told me, and I was looking through your Instagram, you have
Mm.
you use a lot of oldie kits, like
Mm.
pre Katoki, like what's it, HGUC. You use like even older stuff. You use the HG old stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess I just was wondering why would you use that one? Do you see any value in the old ones that like maybe the new ones?
Yeah. I think. Okay, so I think this is kind of a bit a little bit long story. Okay, so actually, apart
Please
from
tell
doing
me.
model
This
kits,
is yeah. Okay, I'll just shut
actually,
up. Please tell the story. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So actually, for some people that know me, actually, I have more than one hobby. Actually, I have 3 to 4 different hobbies. Okay, so apart from doing a model kits, actually, I'm the carpenter as well. I'm also writing books. So actually, the way I'm doing the carpenter, actually, the concept is about recycle. Right? It's about giving a second chance. Okay, and it's also about transform something that people might think this is not, they don't have any value, into something like people will appreciate that. So with those kind of mindset, mentality, actually, successfully, I kind of applied it into the way I'm making model kits. Right. So I have always having in my mind those kind of actually deserve a much better attentions in a sense, because without them there would be no motor kids today, right? But the fact is, a lot of people is kind of put that aside, people don't put in much a lot of attention to that or motor kids. And the second thing is I always to put it in a way what if we can change something that looks something that you can compare to where it is right now. I mean, something modern, something more futuristic, and then we can see I would see that this is more like a canvas for me to explore. And the other thing is actually, if you saw the model that is probably most of it coming from 144 scale. I think the reason because it's I saw a lot of potential, because the kit's more simple, right? There's a lot of white area for me to explore and change the design and stuff like that. And the most important part is they don't have a lot of parts, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of
Oh.
yeah. So this is the motivations behind it. So because the kits are simple, and second is those kind of enjoyment of if you're using something old and make it looks modern, something that you can compare to
Yeah.
how the stuff being done today. So it's kind of a different level of satisfactions of doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think other people would interpret it as having more value too, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I was looking through the whips, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe he wasn't using a high grade kit.
Yeah.
But you were talking about a lot about like space, right? Like
Mhm.
yeah. I've noticed recently a lot of the modern high grades, and even master grades and stuff like that. They have a very predefined shape and aesthetic. And well, granted, the old stuff did as well, right? But I guess you were saying there's less pieces too, right? So
Yeah.
lot to work with. Yeah, the recycling portion I think is very interesting. I guess I, this is gonna become a fucking trend. I'm just gonna be pondering shit for 2 minutes after Eday says something to me. Just think about things. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you were talking. Yeah. Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
No, I was you go ahead. I was gonna offer to read the next question if you'd like, but You can.
I will read Oh, okay, I found one. Okay, so you were talking about woodworking, right, Eday? I know that you also do
Mhm.
like home decoration. Is that correct?
Oh yeah,
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 you wrote a book. It was called
yeah.
Wood Soul, right?
Wood soul.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, talks about the environment and how you live.
yeah,
I was really wondering, like, you have the picture is a really beautiful, like, kind of workstation. There's some cameras and stuff like that. Does it
yeah,
off camera? Does it look like that?
yeah,
Oh my god.
yeah.
How do you keep how do you keep it up? Because I know a lot of people who take photos of their
Yeah.
like workspace and it
Okay.
seems very
Yeah.
clean, right? But
Yeah.
once they start working, it
Hmm.
just becomes like a mess. So how do you,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
I think it's about like, I believe that the space, like how the space looks like, how the space feels like, actually is affecting your mood, right? Let me give an
Mhm,
example. Like, if let's say like you're drinking a wine right now, but you are just like in your office or in your bedroom. If you compare drinking a
mhm,
wine in a bar, like having a nice decoration, with music in the background, stuff like that, you kind of like the enjoyment is different, right? Right.
mhm,
So that's what like I trying to like keeping those kind of mood like that can help me to to make all the process become much more like enjoyable. So like actually apart from keeping the space like neat and tidy, so I kind of like trying to tidy up whatever I finish the work sessions per day, and then sometime I might be burning some candles with the music, maybe some whiskey or wine, kind of like
Mhm.
yeah. So it kind of be part of those kind of like enjoyment things, yeah, yeah. Because like I think unconsciously like, we tend to like can you imagine it's like you went to the room or space that when you step in, you kind of like the whole place is kind of messy. So unconsciously, like you kind of feel like uncomfortable, right? So can you
mm.
ever think about like why people feel like why people get a lot of idea when they are sitting in the toilet, because sitting in the toilet is like you have your privacy time. It's like the space is like it's only
Comfortable.
you. You're comfortable, and then like
Ah,
there's nobody else. There's nobody else, and then that's why you can focus on think of something, right?
Mhm.
I
That's
should.
that's 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 yeah. This sort of like my way of like see things, But I don't know you guys, but it's just me.
I mean, I
Yeah.
should probably do my homework in the fucking shitters now. Then fucking figure this shit
Yeah.
out. Goddamn.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Okay. I'll move back to another question from one of the people listening. So, this is Nate. Nate asks, "How do you plan out your projects? Like, do you make a concept beforehand, or do you start building it with just a theme in mind?" And you were talking about recycling earlier.
Yeah.
So, is that in like is that working in parallel with the fact that you work on like 10 different projects, and then you just yeah, what's the
Yeah.
thought process behind the recycling
Yeah.
method, I guess? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's a few things that I've always put in my mind. I think the first thing is like when you have been spending quite some time to build your own model kits, right? You tend to have your own style and directions, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's for example like I tend to look into something like more mechanical detail, or if you talk about shape, maybe something a bit like a jet plane or airplane, a spaceship, and something like that. So I kind of into those kind of directions. Okay, so
Mhm.
so that's the first one, and the second one is like if you're asking me about planning, actually, I think the planning always start from like how you're doing is a sketch, but the sketch is not on the paper or using a pencil, but the sketch is on the model itself. So that's why I need like one or two, more than 2 to 3 model kits at the same time, because I treat them as this is my sketch canvas that you can
Mhm.
actually instantly saw the like what is the outcome of the design that you kind of like experience during that process, right?
Mhm.
So so for me it's like there's no like sketching on the paper and then translate it into the model. It's not that way. Yeah, yeah,
Mm. Multiple projects Okay.
Yeah, multiple projects. Sometimes because like
Yeah.
when you do this one of them, and then you suddenly you gotta inspire. Oh, yeah, it might be some cool idea coming from the stuff that you build, which is actually you can build it to the other model kits, right? I
Right.
think we've been through that before, right? Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just that I see your finished works, and they're usually like, there's definitely like resemblance on the topic that you make, right? Like, so if you make a hyakushiki, then it's gonna look like a
Mhm.
hyakushiki, but it's like really, really
Mm.
jazzed up, right? it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
got a lot of
yeah,
amazing stuff. Okay,
yeah.
well, hope that answers Nate's question.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yay,
Yes.
Joey's back. Okay.
No, I was always here. So,
Oh, I know you were. I just okay.
oh.
So for the podcast, he was messaging me about the fact that like
And
there
then
might be a lookup.
there's quite a few things that I like to compliment to Eday's kind of like a creative thinking process. I guess
Yeah.
we use the same word. Like last time I used the word canvas maybe 3 times,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
Eday was using it 5 times tonight.
Mhm.
And it keep counting. And I guess the creative process is what we are looking at. And also I totally agree that it's actually
Yeah.
more stimulating, like using a used model. Remember last time I picked up something from the graveyard, the jugs.
Right.
Yeah.
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 I remember that.
I have to explain this to Eday. Also, okay, they have a place that they donate all the unwanted parts, and
Mhm.
sometimes you
Mhm.
can find a whole kit if you are patient enough. And then last time I picked up something, I didn't know what it
Mm.
was. I have totally no idea. I just like the shape of it, and then I built it into I recycle it, and then I turn it into a robot. So
Okay.
and also it is actually we skip the process of like looking at the menu, and then we have to cut all the knobs and everything, right? So it's
Yeah.
actually uh in a way is more open to us if we have like a build kit and then we bash it, or we take it apart, we strip it down. It's better for us to cut it from a tree. I think so. So maybe after tonight, everybody
Mhm.
in Vancouver is looking for used kit now.
Perfect. I'm just gonna start selling them. Make my money back.
I've got a few
Yeah.
backlogs too. Hey.
Right.
Yeah, I can dump all the
Yeah.
backlogs and then looking for like, okay, use the kit from now on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I'll ever throw out any
I have a
plastic.
question for Eday. Can I ask one
Of
question?
course. Just do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So point us to a direction that like we talk about design and we talk about
Mhm.
creativity. Like what reference should we look at? Like what master modeler or even a book or illustrator, you know,
Okay.
what you look at. Yeah.
Mm. Okay. So I think I got quite a number of this kind of questions. Right? I think and the things that I always find out is like people tend to getting the reference and knowledge like apple to apple. For example, like if you're building Gunpla and then you're trying to get some inspiration from Gunpla. And for me, it's like it can be done, but if you're looking at something more extraordinary, you should see something from like out of that category. For example, like if you attend to into like detailing and mechanical design, right? Maybe when you search on the Google, you're not looking for like a mechanical Gunpla detail. No, maybe you're looking for jet plane, car, like factory machine, those kind of things. In fact, that actually I saw a lot of reference from the factory machine and the
Mm.
jet plane machine. That's how the things I always got my inspiration. So again, it's like if you want to get something like you're trying to infuse some sort of like your own original design or different kind of things from the stuff that you did, it's like always trying to get the reference or the inspiration from out of that category.
Mm.
Right. So if you're building Gunpla, my suggestion is like don't look into the Gunpla because at the end of the day, you might be just doing something like what other people have done. You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. So it can be
That's
like
a really great point. Yeah.
yeah. So
So
yeah. Yeah.
so on my next coloring, I will look at Monet's picture. or next painting, and then get inspiration. Yeah, it might work.
Yeah,
It might work.
yeah. It might maybe this is how you inspire by the colors. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, that's how the things
Michelangelo,
work.
here I come.
Yeah,
like different layers and yeah,
yeah. It can be done. Yeah, actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Actually, yeah. So that's why I'm saying, like, you know, if you want to build something like trying to come up with your own style or your own design, like trying to look for something else from the Gunpla, it can be a lot. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, you don't want to bound by the so-called rule of Gunpla, because what is
yeah.
Gunpla? Gunpla is like 4 limbs, a torso, a backpack, a shield, and a weapon, right?
Yeah.
Can I say
So
Gunpla is freedom? No, just kidding.
yeah,
It's
watch
freedom
it.
with like 5 asterisks.
Watch it, bro.
I take it back.
No,
Yeah,
I actually, to a certain degree, I agree it's freedom,
Hmm.
but there's also
Mhm.
a lot of discipline behind the freedom. Even that's why
Yeah,
when we talk about art,
yeah,
people like different media, they ask us what is a discipline.
yeah,
So if you're a
That-
photographer, you say photography, right? So
yeah,
we use the word discipline for like categorizing
yeah,
things. So
yeah,
discipline is there for a reason.
yeah. So Joey, what you say is really interesting. Okay, I think maybe I can add on a little bit. Yeah, like I said, like Gunpla is freedom, but the freedom somehow doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want. In the sense that everything have those kind of like standard. Let me give you an example. Like if you're building a military kit, right? So in some cases, this bunch of people, they always build a military kit based on the history, right? So
Mhm.
everything, the color, everything needs to match to the history,
Hmm.
right? So they can say it's freedom, but somewhere there is the standard, there is the directions, right?
Mhm.
And then when we're doing the Gunpla, for example, like so let's say if I choose go for this direction, it's like, so what is the standard of doing that, right? If I go for diorama, okay, is my work is really telling a strong story, or I just putting everything together without telling a strong story, right?
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, back then doing a build a diorama, you can focus on the painting and stuff. Like, it's really, it's like everything is a choice. But the thing is like, do we really setting up some standard when we talk about the freedom that we always talk to, right? It's not about like you do whatever you want, like the sim line over there, just like those kind of things. Is it okay or not? Some people might be not okay, but it depends on what is the direction, what are the things that you're trying to tell. I can convince that as long as you can tell the story, I think it's fine, right? Like
Yeah.
if you look at the fashion design, for example, sometimes you saw the fashions that unbelievable. Who's going to wear that? But as long as they have the philosophy, the story tell, it's fine, right? So yeah, yeah,
Like we can quote some example echoing like what Eday has just said. Uh, let's say panel lines. Like what is
yeah,
that panel lines for? How
mm-hmm,
come there's a panel line there? Is it
mm-hmm,
excessive? Is it just for design? Is it just for like decorative kind of thing?
mm-hmm,
Is that hatch open to something? So
mm-hmm,
because if you add panel lines to a panel, if you look at the real robot or something like that, it will weaken the integrity of that armor.
Yeah.
yeah,
So actually, they were trying to avoid as little panel line as well. So if we add panel lines, we have to ask ourselves, what is that panel lines for? Not just for just for adding sake.
yeah, yeah. That's true, actually. Yeah, I think that's Pennerline actually quite an interesting topic as well because, like, of course, like I believe that a lot of people kind of tend to think that Pennerline is about, make the things look details, right? But
Hmm.
I believe that actually, Pennerline is actually something like you're actually adding a pattern into the design, into that model kit, and actually it can be make things look detailed.
Hmm.
Just talk about the panel line, right? So I think just it's very interesting topic because the question how many of us really understand about what is the purpose of panel line, because for most of people tend to feel like the more panel line add on, the more details you will get,
right? But for me, it's like those kind of panel lines about like you can create different kind of illusions on how the works that you're going to show is going to be like what is the end result is going to be looks like. So the example is like when we talk about lines, panel line is just like you are creating a pattern, right? So if I put it into like an analogy on the other example, for example, like if there's like a big fat guy, right, and he's wearing a t-shirt, and then on the t-shirt the pattern is like the line is horizontal. So what would that be? So the guy might be looks a bit slightly bigger, right, because of that line actually unconsciously creating illusion in our eyes. But if he wearing a t-shirt with a vertical line, he will slightly looks slimmer, right? So that purpose. Some cases the colors as well. I mean, like if you wear a white t-shirt and a black t-shirt, somehow black t-shirt might be looking a bit slimmer because of that color, right? So what I'm saying, like for whatever details that we putting into our works, even like call it like a plaplate or the lines or the colors. So remember, there's actually what we call like this is like a design components that you're putting into your works, and you have to understand like what is the purpose, what is the role of each of that design components that you're putting into.
For now on, so you won't wear horizontal unless you want to get bigger. So but Eday was saying that because like we do we do Gunpla, we know that is a Gundam or a mecha is built up on like different planes or different piece, like on a flat or curved surface, but still a more like a two-dimensional, and then it built up to a three-dimensional rendering, right? So so what I get from Eday is actually you can use if you use it right, you can use the panel lines to enhance that particular parts or that parts that connecting to other parts, that you can enhance the detail and the texture and the form of that particular piece. Am I right, Eday?
Yeah. So that's correct. Yeah. So at the end it's like depends on like what is the purpose of you're using those kind of like panel line, colors, plaplate or anything, right? I think that we all believe that we've seen some kind of works that been by the time we look at it, it's like overdone with a plaplate everywhere, like overdone with a panel line everywhere, a lot of geos holes everywhere, right? So because
it's like that guy is having cancer or something, like, or
that's what I'm saying, like because I believe those guys like having in mind like the more I put it, the more details I get, right? But I think details is not about quantity. It's about how you are smartly using different kind of components to highlight the stuff that you want to highlight into your works.
Yeah, it's never about quantity, right?
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe just give an example. Like if you guys look at the model kits that I built, it's like first it's like I don't use any decals at all, right? So I try to use the silver colors to bring up those details, and this silver color actually is coming through from that kind of mechanical details, and that's it. And I don't really put in a lot of like a panel line actually, so I kind of like playing with colors and the shape of that. So this is like
interesting.
the way of doing that, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I never think of that. You never use deco.
That's the story of that as well, right?
Yeah, because it's actually kind of like struggle, like especially with 1/44 scale as well. Like, if you blow that deco up, like it will be like a bulletin board, right? So, and then
no, I think my reason is because I'm just too bad with the deco works. Yeah,
but it's a great idea that you use like tiny dots of silver to bring up the highlights instead of using, because sometimes we use deco to bring out highlights as well. Right?
Oh, that's so smart. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then also we use the deco to hide our fault. Like maybe there's a scratch line there. Maybe there's
keep it away, right?
Yeah. Just shield it with a piece of deco, and then and then tell everybody it's designated to be there.
Yeah, it's cool.
So if you're asking me, I think the most important components actually can drive the details actually coming from the colors. Like imagines like I mean, if you have one parts of Gunpla and you just spray a blue color, for example, and then you have another same part away, you spray blue color, but the way you do it just like RG versions where you have a different tone of blue, and it brings out a lot of different details, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, even though the one that with the one color have a panel line, but the one that having a different tone of colors actually is more pops out. You know why? Because our eyes always react to the colors, and then we go to
No.
Yeah, we can look at Eday's Force
I'm saying?
Impulse Gundam. Yeah, that's I remember Eday's Force Impulse, the red one. I believe it's
Sword Impulse, right?
Yeah, Sword Impulse. Yeah. With a gigantic bazooka on the side.
Yeah, that's the one I was drooling over this morning while I was looking through your stuff.
I think Eday used like multiple red and orange on that guy.
Yeah.
But I have a question. So sometimes we look at some people's work. We kind of look like we don't know what happened, but we kind of have an uneasy feeling towards it. Is it like too many color on one kit?
This is interesting, sir, because sometimes we tend to like, okay, we know that, oh, this is not good, but a lot of people they don't know how to tell like why this is not good, and then how it's just like just like when I say like, okay, you looks, for example, oh, you looks fat, or maybe because you wear white, that's why you have to wear black. So because we know that the colors make you look fat, so that's why it's all back again, like to your questions, like when we saw something, so like we feel like this is uneasy to look at. This is like it's not comfortable. Maybe it's like overdone and stuff like that. So I think there's a few things that we can put it as a fundamental to ask ourselves, like what are the things that is not working. First, we talk about color. Okay, is the colors like in a design we have like a color study or wheels of colors. Is the color have in a range of creating a harmony? Right. For example, if I put like let's say with the green, for example, might be not working, right? We have, right? So something that we feel that is comfortable colors. So from the colors, and then the next one is from the shape. Okay, so the shape is back to what we had just talking before. It's about the panel lines, right? The plow plate, right? Is line the panel line flow follow the shape of the model kit itself. For example, like if you look at the surface, if the surface is in vertical format, and then we have something like, let's say, triangle or something like out of proportion, we feel like okay, maybe this is the things that make the whole things doesn't look well proportions. So everything is about like color proportions, color combinations. Second one is like the shape, right? So the shape panel line. The second thing is like the shape in the sense like into more like a three-dimensional. Okay, so let me give you example. Like have you guys seen a works that, let's say, one part of the Gunpla they're trying to adding a detail, not a panel line, like a 3D dimensional detail. Let's say they do it on the shoulder, and then they put like a square part plate on top of that.
Yeah, many times.
Yeah, I'm talking about the plow plate is in a square shape, right? And then there's a smoke, and it's not working. Okay, why is not working? Because we have to go back again the concept of detail. Okay, so what is detail? Detail is about creating a contrast. Okay, something that to complement something different. Okay, but it has to be in the right proportion. For example, if everything is dark, that's why I put a little bit of dot of silver to bring the detail stand up. Correct? So there's a dark, there's a shiny things, right? There's a dark color, there's a bright color. And the bright color is complements the dark to make it more stand out. Just like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Just like a black car with the trim of the red colors on the tires, it just bring out the whole things. Right? So
highlight,
the highlight, the contrast. So the shape also have a contrast as well. So if your dominant shape Okay, if your main surface is in square or rectangular or this kind of like a AG kind of form, so the detail should become in a round shape. You see what I'm saying? Round shape in the sense like I don't know. You like that's why you see my piston, the round thingy, the cylinder, everything, the pipe, everything is all in a round shape. Right? Look at your car. When you open up the machine part, everything was like almost in the like a round shape, like all those kind of detail. Right? So it has something, those kind of small things like with a different kind of shape to complement the big shape of that kind of rectangular shape. So this is how I kind of putting in a way like how we can use the different kind of elements to complement different kind of elements to create those kind of details look, right? So it's not about
Thank you, Eday. Thank you. I got it.
you got it now.
Yeah,
So if you I don't know, you just sent up my works, some of my works just now in the chat. So if you look at that, if you look at all the details I put in the silver color, everything is in a brighter color and in a round shape, right? So that's why if you look at the armor, actually there's not much panel line, and it's just like I can say a bit flat. But we talk about everything was combined together.
Oh, and that's where the detail is drawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why you rely on the shape to bring the different detail, and then you rely on the color to bring the overall kind of compositions.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how the contrast is working, you know. Right.
Yeah, I think so Eday and I also, as you know, we come from design school. Eday is in the architecture field. I'm in the graphics design field. So we actually kind of like lucky is that we have those kind of training in our school days. We look at colors slightly differently. We know which color can go well with which color, because we have this color concept of like contrast color or complementary color, or like we use like harmonized color to make you feel better, that you can look at that things for a long time. I think the shape and the form is the same concept with color. The shape
Yes.
and form has to be either you want to provoke it, you want to contrast it, or you go harmonize with it. So it's this two main thing that you want to tackle. Probably like maybe like 70% of the time you are like doing harmony with the surrounding shape. If you add on panel lines, and that's why we use parallel lines to lean against the existing edge or something like that. And then, but sometimes we use round thing to contrast the square thing as well. So this is a matter of proportion. Like maybe 80% of the time we were like doing harmonizing. Say for instance for color, if you're doing a Vida Gundam Vida, so you use like the maybe 2 or 3 tones of blue, like doing the main armor part, but you also want to use a maybe like a light or hue down mango orange to do the highlight. So you will get a contrast jumping out of that thing, but the whole it still give a very harmony kind of soothing effect to the eyes.
Yeah.
Comfortable.
Yeah. So I think another thing is like the exposure as well. It's just like I think my inspiration is just like it's coming from a car. I mean, like you have built all those kind of details, right? So I think when you're doing in the Gunpla, we have the terms like open hatch detail, right? So we have a lot of details, but we kind of really not exposing all of them. So that's why it kind of like we call like an open hatch. So that's why it actually creating those kind of layers of detail when you put it all together into the model kits. So that's right. When you look at the model kits that has been done in the way like a lot of open hatch detailing, it looks much more like interesting and layers of those kind of like detail into the works, right? Instead of like when you saw it, it's just like an open naked with all the mechanical details, right?
Yeah. Every time, man. I just,
Yeah,
just
you,
shut
you
the hell
need
up. I'm thinking.
yeah, you need time to digest the ingredients Eday just fed you.
Well, the thing is, Eday just like every time he
Yeah.
explains something, he adds a example to it, and then I have to like draw the parallels, and he explains it very nicely.
Yeah, actually, in
just-
fact, like I'm actually like I think for the last almost 2 years, actually, I'm writing other books. Actually, it's about like how to put a design context and design thinking into your like model making. So I'm talking about like let's say, for example, if you want to design, if you want to create a panel line, okay. So I'm not going to call like a creating a panel line. I'm talking about designing a panel line, okay, because
Mhm.
talk about creating a panel line, probably I'm going to talk about like what sort of tools, like what sort of like equipment you gotta use to make a panel line, okay. But when we talk about design panel lining, it's actually like everything have formula, okay. Formula in the sense like in a way of how we can actually use a simple method as our mindset thinking to do or to solve something. For example, like if somebody has expertise in the mathematics, okay, probably they have some basic formula in their mind to solve any kind of problems, right? So it's same case with what we have as well in terms of design. For example, like that when you wear black pants, what sort of colors of t-shirt that you have to wear, because you have those kind of color formula in your mind, right? So the idea of writing the book is about like building the fundamental of like understanding how that design works on the panel line, and the rest is like if you got the understanding on how is all those kind of line works, and the next step will be like you can create your own design.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that, because I think one of my questions that I was going to ask you was I was scrolling through your feed, and you had a photo of two newbies and a 6-year-old, and you explain to them the concept of what panel lining is,
In
and
fact,
then tell them to draw it out. And honestly, it puts like a lot of people's work to shame just looking at the design. So you said it only took 5 minutes, right? Just
So I think
explaining that. Yeah, can you
so
elaborate a little bit on that? Yeah.
I think it's a matter of like we understand the purpose. I mean the functions. You see what I'm saying? Like, for example, like back again to the fashion. I think this is a very simple example. We know that black colors, right? Black color can be used anywhere, right? Whatever you want to go, whatever you have kind of like activities, right?
Right.
When we are lacking of option, let's go for black. We know that black is for it. We know the purpose of black colors. So that's how the minds work. So by doing that, actually, it's very simple way. Like what I'm telling them is like, okay, let's say you have a shape, right? Let's say in the rectangular or even like in the square format, right? So let's say we have a shape in the square, right? And then we draw a line in the middle, right? As a shape is still one object, right? But if you put a line in the middle, it create illusion that you have two rectangle now instead of one square.
That's right. Yeah.
So one it become two. Right. So that's how the thing works. So what does that mean? So it means that the line can be one of the functions, like it can split. It can like a multiple the volume, right? So in some cases, detail, right? So the detail sometimes is about like from one thing, so we can create illusions that become like more than one. So it's set to add up sort of like a volume into that kind of shape, right?
Right.
So there will be like I'm talking about like how we're going to split that. Like I call it like a split the shape, right? So the second one will be like just a quick one. The second one is like a highlight, okay? So the highlight is like you drive a car, like you have a tire, right? So back again to the colors, like imagine on the tire, on the rims, you kind of put a red sticker around that. What is that line for purpose for? It's kind of highlight the round shape, right?
Yeah.
Right. So this is the second purpose of the panel line. So it can be divided to make it more quantity, and the second one is like to highlight the shape.
Oh.
Imagine that you draw a circle right now, and then you draw another circle, smaller circle inside that big circle, right?
Yeah.
So the shape becomes standing out. Or maybe you can people tend to you can just writing some words, and then you draw the outline just to highlight the words.
Right.
All the
Yeah.
that's how things works. Yeah. So and then the third one will be more like a variations, how you add details. So it's hard to explain by words. It's got to be like some simple chart graphics to show that. So that's why like a simple. So by getting those kind of like a few easy step and understanding, is kind of like you kind of know like, oh, where should I start first? Okay. You got to split first, okay, because it's big. Okay, I'm going to play with the volume at first. Okay, after I'm done with the volume, I go with the highlight, and it's done. Right.
Oh, okay.
So maybe give I try to give another simple example. If your shape is in a rectangle, okay, and the rectangle is in the vertical positions. Like imagine that you have a rectangle like standing up in the vertical positions, right? So when you want to split that with the panel line, your line, again, the contrast, we talk about detail, we talk about contrast, right? If the shape is in the vertical directions, then the line that we can draw is actually goes to horizontal. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Can you imagine like if the shape is in the vertical, you draw the split line in the vertical, it looks too like everything was cramped together, right?
Cramped up now. Yeah.
If you draw in the vertical, it's just nice, right? Can you draw two lines on the top and at the bottom?
Oh, and then you interesting.
And now you have three different shapes, right?
Yeah.
Right? And then your shape is become like the three of them, two of them become horizontal directions, right?
Right.
Then you add vertical line inside that small shape that you have divided.
Add a vertical shape in the line that you just created.
Line.
Oh. Oh, then like more emerges, right? It's like it's like a. It kind of reminds me of like what is it? Like I used to do like some doodles with like you've heard of like what's it called, like geometry drawings in like religious like subtext, right?
Oh yeah.
You just keep drawing like circles, and eventually you form like a what's hexagonal pattern? I think that's the what's the shape with 6 sides? Hexagonal, right?
Hexagon,
Yeah. But I guess it's just like drawing to create that type of high interest.
Yeah.
I guess right now I'm gonna let this fizzle. And Dan, do you want to ask a question? After Nate.
Sure. Let's see. After Nate. So from our good friend Rico, any inspirations for your past builds or any future projects that you may have in mind? Like, I believe any what from your previous like winning entries and stuff, what were some things that inspired you to make them along your process, and what may be inspiring you now?
Okay. So I think my next or maybe my future was like I might be going back to look at those kind of old model kits. So that's why I think like 2 years ago you saw me doing some works on the old model kits on the 1/220 scale. I think there was like a 60 something. I mean like a 90s 70s kind of model kits, right? So I kind of trying to collect again all those kind of old model kits. I mean like maybe probably like below like 1990s or 1980 something. So I think the ambition is about like as I said before, like it's about like how I'm going to using that and modernize the design what I used to be, into what I used to be done with my model kit as well. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that'll be like the next ambitions. And I think the inspirational. I think the inspiration is back again, as I said before, is like maybe I have been too long into like what I'm doing now. So like I kind of like feeling great in terms of like the directions that I'm doing, which is like more into like a mechanical design, those kind of pistons and stuff like that. So that would be like still would be the directions and the approach that I'm going to apply on my model works. But I think it's about like getting a different canvas and how it's going to be looks like if I putting all those kind of approach into that kind of different canvas. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Very good.
Can.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I really
fucking
I really
so-
like listening to what you have to say. I'm kind of like Half too, where I just need a few seconds to process it. And just but what you say is like
Yeah.
solid, right? Like now
Yeah.
I've got old kit by my standards, a
Yeah.
SD gun tank in my
Yeah.
backlog that I'm looking at it and I'm like, I could do
Yeah.
something really different
Yeah.
with that. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I think we just get too excited about the things you say and how it might like apply to each of us individually. I'm sure the viewers or listeners are probably thinking the same thing as well.
Mhm.
But I think I'm just gonna move along and I'm just gonna like spit questions out because
Mhm.
during the time you were saying this, a couple came out as well. So I'm like, I'm just gonna
Okay.
keep them going. So this one's
Okay.
from His Royal Golden, Jeremy, and he says, "What are your thoughts on multimedia for a display?" So what he means by that is like a diorama that incorporates sound, or like robotics, kind of like automation or something like that. I think that's what he's trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great, because at the end of the day, like as I said, like the automations or even like a display and stuff like the multimedia, I think it's just like the tools, right? At the end of the day, is like we want the audience like they can feel or they can sense like what is our story, what we're trying to impress, right? Like imagine like you went to the art museum, right? Probably you're just enjoying the arts, but you don't care about like how people are going to spend their works on using what sort of paint and brush, right? Those kind of audience don't care. What they care the more is the what is the wow impact from your works, right? So if you're using multimedia, if you're using some automations or maybe some nowadays starting to train people kind of building some mechanics and the robots kind of be like a move and the hands can move by itself and stuff like that. I think it's great. It's just like another way of like creating like the impact or the wowness into your works, okay? Because before previously we don't have those kind of like exposure to those kind of access, and now we have. So this is the new stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I think the core is about like when we build something. Okay, maybe I put it into like a competition level, right? So we talk about like we want to be standout, right? Right. We want to create those kind of strong stopping power. Like let's say the judge will stop and have a look. Everybody will stop by at least, like they will spend like 50 or 30 seconds to look at your works. I mean, like you've been to the competition display before. I mean, like like how many kids that you just like maybe spend 1 or 2 second glance away because they don't have a stopping power, right? You don't judge them by the panel line, right, or seam line. It's about creating a stopping power, something like interest, something that stand out, that's make people feel make people feel like wow, this is something different, something that you never seen before. And people will never judge like okay, how many hours you spend on that, or how many plaplate you use, right? People always think about the innovations, the idea, the story that you're trying to show to the audience, right?
Yeah.
So to put it simple, it's like what you're trying to impress, right? Right. I think we heard before like some discussion about like people say, oh, why this guy's not winning? You know, he spent a lot of scratch building and stuff like that. But the thing is like maybe he just building a bigger scale. But in terms of design, it's just like enlarging the design. There's nothing new on that, right?
Yeah.
But some people, oh, he spent a lot of effort. But come on, this is not an effort competition, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how I see it. So I think you know it can be anything. Like you can put in some lighting show on that, some music. You know, it's all again back to like how the audience react to that. But again, if you talk about the audience, it's back again to the to ourselves as a human beings. Like we have five senses, right? So you can look at the five senses how we can to make it much better impressions, right?
Yeah.
Right now, the only thing that you see is just like, you know, from your eyes. Right? You can imagine that something you can smell, something you can hear from that work, something's moving. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I hope Jeremy can.
Yeah, I hope
I hope
that.
Jeremy's satisfied with that answer. Okay, we're just
Yeah.
gonna right along. This one's from Nico Zenos. That's Nick.
Mhm.
So he says, Eday, you are a master of plaplate. How can average modelers take their plaplate to the next level? That's it.
All right. So I sort of like have like how to okay. So I might be not the I'm not the master of plot I can say, but because I'm not the one that creating plot or what. But I think again, as I said, it's about like you know how you are putting those kind of design elements, like you know the purpose. Like if you are using the plot, let's say, are you using the plot for detailing, or are you trying to build something different? And it all depends on the output that you're using that material to produce, right? So
Yep.
it's not about the materials, right? It's about the output. And then when you talk about the output again, if you're asking me, I think it's about like the design works that you want to show into your works, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right. Because like, you know, if you're asking like how you can bring the plot back, it's just like when you're back to the painting, like you have a pen brush, I have a pen brush. The question is like how you can draw something masterpiece. So it's not about pen brush anymore, right? It's about
Yeah.
the idea. It's about like creativities, right? So yeah, those kind of question I think is about like yeah, I think it's about like you know how and where you want the and what is the purpose of doing that? I mean, like, are you going to make it like a new design or as an add-on design on the details? And if you talk about details, then we go back again, like, how we're going to play with those kind of elements to create a contrast detail and stuff like that. If we want to build with new elements, and then we talk about how that new element shape is going to complement the overall shape as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
So I guess it's just saying like they just have to take it like if they understand in a conceptual matter, do you think that would make things a lot easier?
Yeah.
For them to
Yeah.
kind of, understand, right?
Yeah.
How to do it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember when I like did plot play, when I did like really heavy scratch building a couple years back. I remember just
Mhm.
looking at at the photo of a thing that I wanted to scratch build. I just kept looking at it until I understood how the pieces actually like kind
Mhm.
of formulate together, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
sometimes you just spend more time looking at something, and eventually it just break down
Yeah.
into basic like polygons,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
that's how
Yeah, so
I personally do it.
yeah, I feel like you know sometimes when you talk about scratch building, I think scratch building is we came to the scratch building because there's no existing parts or shape that we want to, right? So that's why we go for scratch
Yeah,
building.
yeah,
And then since
exactly.
we can take something from other model kits, then it can make the whole process easier,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
And then it's like again, like because at the end of the day, we want to show the outcome, the end result, right? We're not talking about like how many hours I spent on scratch building or how many plate I use, right?
Mm.
So that's for me, especially, yeah.
Oh, so yeah, I kind of like understand your kind of
Mhm.
grandiose kind of idea is the idea that like it's it's just putting things together and then showing this creative output that you
Yeah,
are trying to kind of express, right?
yeah,
And everything, in a way, it's like a means to an end, right? It's just
yeah,
to show what your creative output is, and the tech, as you said, like before, the technical stuff is all,
yeah,
um, you know, it's it's like a part of it. You always get better, but also the creativity thing is what like a lot of people value, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, hope Nick hope Nick's good with that answer or satisfied with that answer.
yeah.
Um, we'll keep going. This one's from Azure Rathalos. This is Brian. Brian says, knowing what you know now, is there anything that you would change on your 2012 GBWC winning entry? Looking back, I guess like 8 years ago, right? Or probably
Okay.
10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think 8 years ago. 8 years coming. Nice. Yeah. Mm,
Oh, but you started building 2 years ago, right? Or uh,
yeah, yeah. I started at 2010. Yeah, that
yeah,
was 20. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So
Mm,
yeah.
I think okay. If the size allow, maybe I can slightly going to make it bigger. That's probably what I'm going to do. Yeah.
Oh, size even bigger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my god. I mean, that thing was pretty big, right? Did it fit the GBWC standards, right? 50 centimeters?
Uh, yeah, it's just 50 by 50.
Oh
I
my
mean, the height
god.
is slightly, I think 35, 38. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. It's slightly bigger. So that's why I have to put it in a diagonal. So that's why it doesn't like going too big or oversized with that.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna keep moving on here. So we have Hotshot 7000. That's his name. It's Travis. So Travis asks, for 3D printing, if there's anything that Bandai hasn't made, what would you like to like 3D print for a future build? Like, what would you make? Oh, this is
Make okay.
uh,
That is a question. Good question. I never think of it. But I think probably the stuff that I'm going to okay for my own personal use, probably like okay. I think one of the troublesome when we're doing a modification on the artworks is like when you're doing on the left part, you have to do on the right part, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think I will go for that things to solve me to repeat, kind of like doing the repetitive works.
Mm.
Right. Imagine it's like I do the left arm and the left leg, and after that I put it on the 3D scan, and then it just print it on a just flip it and then print on the right side, and then it's done. It's going to save like a half of the time, right? Right.
Yeah, yeah, that would.
Yeah, I think that would be like the yeah the way I'm going to use that. Yeah.
Hmm.
I think if you talk about something about okay, people tend to be like using that for commercial. I think commercial would be
Right.
something like so I think commercial would be something like come up with the original design that actually you can use that platform to customize your own. Means that we will have something as a base word, and then you can customize your own, and then you can print it out for yourself.
Oh, that sounds really nice.
Just like you're creating your game character, right?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that Gunpla show where the guy
Yeah,
puts the Gundam in the little pod, and then it just scans
yeah,
everything for the video game. Yeah,
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
yeah.
Because sometimes like people like don't know where to start, so that's why this can help them. Right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Nick also has another question here. He says, "What are some upcoming trends other than 3D printing? What about paint styles like cell shading?" I guess he's trying to ask like what kind of trends that you're looking into, maybe something in the future that you
Uh,
think, make a prediction, I
sorry,
guess.
can you repeat again? Sorry, I kind of missed that
Oh
part.
yeah,
Sorry.
like what like what are some upcoming trends other than 3D printing in your opinion?
I think it's
L-
yeah. I think it's the automation, like people like putting the wheel mechanism into your motor kits, like it can move by itself and stuff like that, right?
Like internal components moving,
And the components, like yeah,
like robotics. Like it's just you can
like
see it
like
moving.
yeah, I can see moving, but in a sense, but still keep the aesthetic way. Like imagine it's like let's into diorama, but you can see somehow it kind of creating some movement that telling that kind of story. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like an
Like
Arduino board. It's gonna
yeah, it's like you put a Insta story using a boomerang into your Instagram with the Insta story, right? So it's kind of like those kind of
oh yeah.
That
That's
would
true.
be really cool. Like you have something just
yeah. So that's why I think
able to twist and move its arm at the same time, right?
yeah. So that's why it can be done. I think it can be done in terms of not just about like a mechanics way. I think it can be done like a combination with a different multimedia as well. Like you just
Yeah.
like those kind of transparent display glasses with the screen where you put a
Mhm.
figure and they have like playing some animated effect around the figures.
Yeah. I've seen those.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, they could totally incorporate that somehow, just in a more
yeah, yeah,
like what's the word? Like with more restraint. Yeah, more restraint. I've seen
yeah,
those light boxes. Sometimes they're like it's
yeah,
just for your eyes to catch it immediately, right? It's like a flash of lightning or
yeah.
something like that. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that
yeah,
kind of thing. Oh, but I think that would be really interesting. Wow. I mean,
yeah. Just like imagine you're creating a diorama, then there's the video is playing the rainfall effects. It's just
yeah.
cool, right? With the thunderstorm and stuff like that. This at the background.
It hits more of your more senses, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah. It has more
yeah,
sensors, like yeah,
yeah,
Twice as many.
yeah.
yeah.
So I think we finished up most of the questions. I have one more question for you. Um, so earlier on, before we were talking about like you're doing like home decor design and you do woodworking. You
Oh
have all
yeah,
these different types of hobbies, right? Um,
yeah.
so can you? I read it in an interview that you've incorporated some of those kind of ideas into Gunpla. Other than the
Hmm.
things that we talked about today, like what other kind of uh, like disciplines have you brought from those types of hobbies and doing those things? Like what kind of new perspective have you gained doing Gunpla?
Okay, okay. So I think my other hobby is actually I'm doing calligraphy.
Oh,
So
calligraphy. Yeah.
I'm learning. I'm still learning in a process learning of like doing a Tibetan calligraphy.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So and actually, I kind of learn a lot in a sense, like when you're doing those kind of Tibetan calligraphy, it's not about just like putting your writing and stuff like that. But there's a lot of like how to say like a process in a sense, like you have to keep your mind clear, right? And then there's
Mhm.
like keep the sacred proportion and stuff like that. There's some like a sort of like a simple ritual that's actually make you feel like it can be like a much more focused and calm,
Mm.
and you can actually spend more hours on that. So I kind of like learning from that kind of part when you're doing another hobby. So there'll be a lot of like try and errors. Like you get frustrated easily sometimes. You get burned out sometimes easily. So this actually helps me a lot. Like how to create those kind of momentum and the mood and having those kind of clear focus in mind to to keep focus on doing better on what I'm doing. So I think
Right.
this is as well, yeah. So that's why I'm saying, like when I'm doing the Gunpla, you saw my workshop, the photo.
Mhm.
Sometimes, as I said, like I might be burn some candles, some music, some kind of different kind of thing that actually can help me to have like a much better kind of like environment to do the works. Yeah.
Right. Oh, interesting. So
No.
oh, okay. So it's a more like a mental state, kind of like
Yes, and uh, like so I don't know how to say this, but it's kind of like you have the courage of like you never stop, right? You want to keep exploring.
Mhm. Right,
Sometimes it might be
right.
too much. maybe I have like a more than 10 now. That were in progress right now on the table, but yeah, it's just you always feel like you're curious for the stuff, right? Because
Yeah.
I think this is very important because like some people might learn like they will just copy for what people is doing, right? This is one type of way of learning, okay? And on the other type of way of learning is like you can copy, but you can observe and you modify, right?
Right.
One is like you saw what people is doing, you inspired by that, you get the essence of it, and then you try to put it into your own context and story.
Yeah.
So there's a 3 different phase that I learned, I observe of like how we actually we as a human being, like how we actually capture from the things that we see and we saw that, and then we put it into the things that we want to do, right? So I see a lot of like people just copy straight away, doing exactly what other people is doing. Right. Second is like they're trying to doing, but they try to modify. It's good, right? And then the second one is like is what we call like you're getting inspired by that, and then you create your own. Yeah.
Well, it's like a absorption and I guess reinterpretation, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like when you learn, it's about like it's not just about like you learn on the outcome, but you can learn in terms of the process as well, like the how to say like the reason, like the how to say the motivations of how that person is doing his work or her work. You can actually learn from that as well to make your own, because sometimes like I believe that every one of us, we have our way of thinking, but the thing is like how we going to push that, right? Sometimes we might get some inspiration because these people have gone through this, right? He has been going through this kind of phase. Okay, we know that, okay, this thing won't be easy, but I'm inspired by the story. That's why I'm going to do it as well, right? So sometimes you might need that, like if you want to go for the competition as well, right? So I don't know, like when you go competition, is like you have some preparation to do that, right? It's not just like spending time to build it. There will be some strategy, right? You got to know like how the competition is the way they run it, right? What is the key priority? What is the point of difference that you can make? Or what is the pattern, right? What is the trend? The organizer running the competition and stuff like that. There should be a lot of this kind of things, right? So it's a matter of like how we can actually observe that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know whether you have time, but I can talk a little bit on the competitions in terms of like how you actually observe the patterns on how they actually selecting all those kind of like top 5, top 10, something like that. I think something like probably like what been Joey said a little bit before, right? So if you look at the top 3 champion, almost all the time, the number 1, number 2, number 3, they always go with the 3 different directions.
Oh, the top
right?
3, all different.
Yeah. So either one of them is diorama, or either it's like focusing on the painting, or even like a mechanical design, or something like fantasy design and stuff like that. Right?
Oh, I've never noticed that before. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I mean, like back to what Joey have mentioned before in the story, like during my year in Hong Kong. So there will be like a three, like 1, 2, 3. So the first one is mine, which is more on like mechanical design, detailing, and the second place is more like a fantasy, right? And the third one, Sinanju, is like is really showcasing the skill on the painting. Right. So even though during my years when I was like during 2012, during my years in final in Japan, so the first one is mine, which is on the mechanical design. We call like an upgraded version, and then the second champion is actually from Philippines, and the approach is more like a we call it like a redesign or renew approach. Can you imagine like sometimes people that will use Gunpla and then at the end they will just come up with a new different type of design of mecha. Right?
Yeah.
And then the third place is the guy from the Japan, and then he is like he's building a Sinanju, the white color, but he is like really showcasing the skill. Oh, no, sorry, the guy from Korea. He's building like a 142 Zaku, but he's like a high gloss candy colors, red color. So it's like showcasing on the painting skill, right? So
Hmm.
so back again. So if you want to build something for, I don't know, just my personal kind of like observations. If you want to like build your kit for the competitions, okay, first of all, it's like you gotta tell yourself like what sort of like what is the key things that become your directions and the things that you want to showcase. Okay, if you want to build the diorama, then you gotta understand what is concept of diorama. What is a good diorama? The good diorama is like with a split second I can understand the story and have the more story that it can tell, or the more impactful story it can tell is amazing. So that's why it's hardly to see that diorama getting a first place in GBWC. It's not because that's the building sucks, because we're just looking for the great story on that. Okay, until there's one guy from Thailand that he built the gunpla on the wood thingy, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's really like another level of telling story, and it's for us like it's something different, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Paint pusher. Yeah.
yeah. So and then if you want to go for detailing, or you want to go for fantasy, fantasy is in the sense like the Gundam become ninja or kind of like myth character and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So there'll be like those kind of like approach so far. If you look at the style and approach on like how people are actually building the Gunpla, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But anyway, this is like from my personal observations.
Observations. I think every like people who have like participated in the Asian competition, it's like
Yeah.
every like Joey, right? Or even we have a judge here in Vancouver as
Mhm.
well. It's just they all have kind of glimpses of like a bigger picture of like what Bandai and the Dengeki hobby judges
Mhm.
actually kind of look for in terms of marketability, in
Ah,
terms of like uh integrity, right? Like picking the right one. So I every single year it's really weird for me to see what wins and what doesn't. But I think hearing this from you, I think it's what I'm getting like I'm slowly like assembling the puzzle. uh yeah, it's really it's not a really I think it's like a really thought out decision what they do. Um
uh, yeah. So, I mean, like, at the end of the day, when it's talk competition, I think it all depends on like organizer and the judges on how they kind of like what is a priority for them to, in a sense of deciding who will be the champion, you know,
yeah,
because
exactly.
again, for me, this kind of thing is like is intangible, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It's
So, yeah,
it's just something I have to think about on my own time. Um
yeah.
yeah, just I don't know. It's uh thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like around it's almost 2 a.m. here, but yeah, my goal today was like I'm gonna get like at least an hour and a half with Eday, but I'm very happy I got more than that.
Yep.
Um
It's,
yeah, it was truly a pleasure meeting you.
Absolute delight.
Yeah.
Like,
my pleasure. I hope that you guys understand what I'm saying. I'm just trying to,
We are, yeah. I think we have a lot of like conceptual talkings a lot here in Vancouver. Like Joey, recently he's been doing these kind of uh
Mhm,
like COVID meetups, but like it's like a
mhm,
workshop meetup,
mhm,
where he just everyone brings like a kit to the table and he has his
mhm,
own thoughts about it. And I think Joey's a great person to kind of uh create conversation, I think.
mhm.
Like
mhm.
modeling
Yeah,
conversations.
yeah,
And
that's
he
great.
brings and he brings something new to the table every time. So I think that's pretty interesting. And obviously Ida, you do too. So uh yeah,
Uh,
that's why sometimes I'm like dumbfounded when uh when people bring up new perspective like that. So I appreciate it. Um but
damn it.
yeah. I think we're at like 2 a.m. now here, so we'll wrap it up. So I would just want to
Mhm.
thank
Yeah.
you, Eday, for coming on.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you'd like to promote? Even though like we probably our platform's not that big, but anything that you want to promote. You have a Facebook, you have Instagram, you have like your website, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to promote?
No, I think I'm good here. So, I mean, like, first of all, it's my pleasure and it's my honor, like, to being invited for the for the group. I mean, in fact, like, this is actually my first time doing the online sort of like talk about the
Oh,
Gunpla. Like,
we beat most of them to it.
yeah,
Perfect.
yeah,
Uh,
because most of the time, like, I kind of doing offline, so it kind of like
yeah.
introductions, the demonstration and stuff like. But it's really a great experience and the time talking to you guys as well and making new friends. Yeah. So as I said to Joey, like uh, just to make it simple, like if in the future that you guys anything that if you guys feel and think that I might be can help part of that, just let me know.
Yeah, I'll
Hell
be
yeah.
sure to hit you up for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. I'm
We'll
happy to
talk,
help
talk
as long
more.
for the
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
but yeah, I guess
Yeah, so I don't know. I still like in a way a lot of like plan because like I kind of like have a lot of different things happening on my end. But there's one thing that I have planned in my mind is like I probably might trying to doing some like a live stream on the like a demonstration or maybe some workshop, like a very simple one, which is I talk about like how creating those kind of design to the works. Like I try
yeah.
to like creating something that maybe a bit more refreshing, right? Something less technical, something a bit more design. I don't know.
Yeah,
So
well,
yeah,
if you should totally do that. I mean, like,
yeah. I
yeah,
don't know.
dude.
Like my thing, my thought is like when I want to do it, maybe I maybe should find a platform as my first demonstration and try. Probably I come back to you guys when I have something in my mind on that.
Please, yeah, please do that. Yeah, we
Yeah.
definitely. I'm sure we will get a classroom full of people wanting to watch you do your thing. Like
Sure.
100%. It's
Thank
not
you.
even
Yeah.
in doubt. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Okay. Well,
Sweet.
thank you so much again. Yeah. I have so much to think about. I probably yeah, we probably have like I would think even talking about what we talked about today, we could talk about it. Like, each individual topic would just take up so much time. But thank you, Eday, for joining us. Thank you.